On this week's full-time roundup, Liverpool and City sharing the spoils. Bayern look back to their old ways. Is this one of the better inter-teams of all time? And we end on predictions. All this and much, much more on full-time roundup. Welcome in, everyone. This is episode 52 of Full-Time Roundup. I am your host today, Daniel Brackett. And on the other side of the screen, or the other voice you will hear if you're listening on podcast version, is my good friend Harrison Clark. Harrison, it is a late night and on a Sunday. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Great weekend of footy. Happy to be here. Happy to make my full pod debut. But yeah, late night, but I'm excited to talk some soccer with you.
Absolutely, and I'm happy that you're here with me today. It was, like you said, a fantastic weekend of footy, and there's no better way to start diving in than the Premier League. And we'll go ahead and start with the biggest game of the week, Liverpool City. I'm going to take a completely unbiased approach for a second here, and then I can kind of shift hats. But what a game of football that was. And I was looking at some tweets after the game, and one of the tweets I liked the best was there's only 5 teams, if that, on the planet that can maintain that level of football for a full 90 minutes. And obviously Liverpool and City are 2 of those teams. But this game, it was just more than a game. And it's not just because of the Premier League title race, but this was Pep Guardiola's and Jurgen Klopp's last dance in the Premier League, era, excuse me. And, you know, they've kind of shared the spoils in this game as well as past occasions. But as a Liverpool fan, these are the games that I've gotten up for the most in the last 9 years. And I'm going to miss the rivalry that these 2 managers have had over the years, and a friendly rivalry at that. I don't even hate City. Like they're just not that hateable of a team. It's not like a rivalry against Manchester United or Everton. It's a friendly rivalry just based off pure respect of just who can ball.
Elite managers, elite players. I mean, as a neutral fan, that was, as you said, an awesome game to watch. I mean, I didn't expect it to be as open as it was. It felt like it was end to end the entire game. And maybe that's just purely because of the talent that's on the field and it's just difficult to defend in general. But I thought it was an awesome game. I mean, for Liverpool, Luis Diaz, the way he was stretching the field for Liverpool he was awesome. That run he had in the second half where he took 2 men on down the sideline and then crossed up Kyle Walker on the edge of the box. I was absolutely stunned. He had a great chance also to score a little half breakaway that he sent over. But in general, as a neutral, an amazing game to watch. And like you said, this being the last game between Pep and Klopp, it's sad that it's going to be coming to an end. But I don't know. The title race is still up for grabs.
It is. It certainly is. And we'll dive now into more of the details of the game. But starting with Luis Diaz, that man put in an absolute shift. I don't know how many miles or kilometers, whatever you want to call it, he ran today, but it was a lot. Now, he played well, but on the other side of that, as a Liverpool starting winger, especially replacing Mane, you got to put one of those chances in the back of the net. And he had at least 3 chances. That breakaway especially comes to mind, that you just got to put that in the back of the net. No questions asked. So, I would say that, if he had that clinical edge, he would, he could be up there with the Sadio Mane talk of eras, but just because he lacks that cutting edge, but his dribbling is elite. Amazing. Now let's get down in gritty in the first goal of the game. City opened their account first. And we love some references on this. And this was, congratulations on UNC basketball winning. This was a pick and roll offense corner set piece that worked perfect against the Liverpool zone.
I mean, I don't know if I've never seen that called before. I don't think the way that that Ake suddenly moved. Who was it? Who did he even move?
It was McAllister.
McAllister, the way he just subtly backed into him, and I mean that's not a foul. He's completely within his right to do that. And then Stones to make that little run, and De Bruyne just fizzing one into the front post for just basically a tap in. I mean, that was something I had never seen before, but it was pretty sick. I mean, I know for you it was probably disheartening, but as a neutral, I was stunned honestly when I saw that was the way that the game started.
Yeah, when we started Jarrell Kwanzaa, I was thinking that they'd probably beat us through open play, but the 2 goals in the game were based off a penalty and a set piece. First of all, I want to congratulate John Stones for his first goal of the season. That's not an easy finish. I don't care what you say. When you fizz it in like half volley like that, especially a center back, that's not an easy finish. So I wanted to at least give him flowers on that. But Liverpool responded well. And it was I would say it's a very even match. And we go into halftime and I knew that Jurgen was gonna to ramp the boys up, and they get that penalty almost immediately after halftime, and McAllister puts away after Ake with a hospital pass to Ederson. Darwin Nunez with a hustle play. Hustles onto it, and Ederson takes him out. It was not a red card because there is a double jeopardy rule. We've talked about that on the show before. You do not get a red if it's a penalty because that double jeopardy, like the definition. But McAllister slots it in, and then Liverpool came roaring to life. Anfield was loud. It was a raucous atmosphere, and they had chances to put a second one in the back of the net soon after. They even brought on Mo Salah, who I wouldn't say he looked like himself, but he created that beautiful opportunity for Luis Diaz. And at the end of the day, I think a draw is a fair result. Doku hit the post late on. I think they both shared good chances. Foden had a really good chance on the back post, and Queen Kelleher made a good save. But at the end of the day, the game, in my opinion, as a Liverpool fan, was kind of ruined by the last minute call on the no penalty. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on what you thought about that.
God, it's tough. It's so close for me. The thing is, McAllister is running like 10 yards. He ran almost 10 yards to get all the way there. And once he does get there, he gets the ball first. It looks like he does. He gets to it with his chest first. Doku's leg is high. And it looks like he also catches a bit of the ball. But it's the studs into the chest that is just the optics of it for me. I thought it was a penalty. I think Liverpool kind of got robbed there. I know it's a tough call to make, but I think that's what
especially at the death too. But
at the death, yeah. I mean, it's such a you don't really want the game to be decided, I think, on that play. And maybe that's part of what went into the decision is that it's so close that you don't want to, change a season for one of these teams. So personally, I did think it was a penalty, but it's just so close that I'm okay. I understand them sticking with no pen.
See, that's where I disagree. There was a VAR check. I think that because you see contact with the studs on McAllister's chest, he barely gets the ball. It could be argued that he didn't get the ball. And the fact that they didn't have the referee go to the monitor to look at that himself, I think that is ridiculous. And I'm not going to go and talk about, all the bad decisions I've gone against us. That's the third one against a top 6 opponent that we've, had a call that did not go our way. That probably ended up, but the definition is that is a dangerous play and it should have been a penalty, and McAllister probably gets a second chance at a penalty. And I mean, I'm not going to speculate on what happens, but it was a bummer that the match ended that way, I would say. But I understand as a neutral, you know, that would have been a tough end of the match to end it like that. But what a match. And we've talked a long time about this, so I want to move on here. But real quick, I wanted to pose a question to you. Does this change anything in the Premier League race?
Oh, I mean, I think it gives Arsenal another boost of confidence. And we'll get to them in a second. But I think it also just shows how close these three teams are to each other. And I think this will go down as one of the best title races of our generation. I mean, it's been incredible football, and these three teams are so even that you don't really know still with who's going to win this thing. But like I said, I think well, obviously Liverpool would have loved to come out with a win at Anfield, but they also didn't have a fully healthy Salah the whole game, and you don't know if that changes everything. Um, so yeah, I think maybe a boost for Arsenal, but in the end, I think we're exactly back to where we were.
Yeah, I thought the man of the match being Virgil van Dijk was a very fair.
He was a menace.
He was a menace, completely shut down Holland. I thought Foden was really nowhere to be found in this match. Alvarez as well. KDB, I'm surprised that Pep decided to take him off, and he was not very happy about it. Which if I was KDB, I wouldn't be very happy about it either.
Also, big props to Joe Gomez, I think, because that first half, I was I was a little nervous for him, honestly, because they were finding Foden early, and it looked like he was going to have his way over on that edge. But second half, I thought Gomez played very well, and he wasn't afraid to go forward also and make Foden have to come back. So I thought Gomez, especially second half, was a big reason why Foden was quiet.
Mm-hmm. And last remarks is that was a full strength City side. Liverpool arguably missing 5 starters: Kanate, Allison, Trent, Salah off the bench, and one more that I'm not thinking about right now. But at the end of the day, for as a Liverpool fan, I'm fine with the result. We move on, but let's get to Arsenal here. They played Brentford, and they get a late winner here. Couple interesting points here was Rice gets the first goal off a nice cross, and then right before half, Ramsdale with an absolute howler, a hustle play by Johan Vissa. But I thought Ramsdale made it up with that Tony absolute ping from a crazy angle, and he just stripes that ball. And Ramsdale makes up for his mistake, and then Havertz, at the death, like I said, heads it in. But the question is, should Havertz have been on the pitch to score that goal? And I'm talking about the flop. Do you think that was a flop?
I think it was I think it was a dive. I mean, there's very little contact there. And I hadn't been able to see that play until I just saw it a couple minutes ago. And yeah, I don't know. I think I think he could have been off there. And with that little contact, that's what frustrates me the most. I just think when guys just blatantly dive, and I know Havertz, being a Chelsea fan, I've seen him do this for a while. He's just so good at antagonizing the opponent, and then he'll do his best to, be dramatic when he can. So, yeah, definitely a flop.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead but it was a good game. It was a good game, and Arsenal
It was.
showed character and how they were able to get a winner late, which is good for them. It is good for them, and they are certainly, like you said, just as favorites as everyone else. But I'm gonna go ahead and share the Premier League table here real quick, just so we can take a look here. Harrison, since we haven't really gotten your thoughts, I know everyone's heard me and Matt's thoughts. What do you think? Who do you think wins this? As both Liverpool and Arsenal are tied on 64 points. Arsenal are ahead on goal differential, and then City is just 1 point behind. I know that City do have to play Arsenal one more time. I would say Arsenal and City's schedules are a little bit harder than Liverpool's in the final stretch. But who do you name your top 3 in what order?
Oh boy. God, this is so hard. I just think they're so even. Like you said, City and Arsenal still yet to play. I just think I want the storybook ending. And I think that Liverpool, if they get their guys fully healthy, can run the table. So if I was going to pick a 3, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal is my 3.
You heard it here, folks. You hear it here. Just to talk about that a little bit longer, I did see that, you mentioned Liverpool getting healthy. I think everyone after the international break will be back. So an interesting development to keep an eye on. Arsenal are healthy. They also play in the Champions League, which we will get to later in the show. That could be, City will also still be in the Champions League. Liverpool will be in the Europa League. So that could play a huge factor in, the wear and tear on the legs as we go down the final stretch. I know City and Arsenal and Liverpool still have to play Villa, Spurs, some top 6 opponents. So it's going to be a great, great race. And I think it could go all the way down to the end. Now, to get to the rest of the Premier League, Spurs, probably the second best game of the weekend. Spurs get the better of Villa, winning 4-0 after a red card from John McGinn. Let's first, since we're talking and harping about refereeing decisions, do you think that was a red card on John McGinn? Worthy of a red card.
I mean,
it's a tough one.
I think
I will admit.
worthy, when you say worthy of a red card, yes, I do. I mean, the way he just he cleaned him out completely. And maybe, I mean, I've seen that before plenty of times and it's been yellow. But the intent, if we're talking about intent, there's no intention whatsoever of him playing the ball there. And I know it's just him trying to stop Udogie from running, but a straight red, maybe not. In my mind, maybe not. But I understand where the referee's coming from giving him the straight red there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of 50-50 up to the interpretation of the referee there. For me, it's a yellow, but I could be swayed both ways. So I understand the decision, and I'm not gonna really go against that. But what a game. Big Ange, I thought, completely outcoached Emery here. Aston Villa from the get-go didn't really stand a chance. And, it was already 2-0, I think, by the red card went in. So the game was, for the most part, kind of over. So huge win for Big Ange and the boys. They now are, let's see how far they are from Aston Villa. They are now 2 points back from Aston Villa with a game in hand. That game is against Chelsea. So, North London derby, that could go either way. But Spurs have a legitimate chance to get in the Champions League in Big Ange's first season, and that's super exciting for a neutral. I mean, we had goals from Madison. Johnson continues his dazzling form here, and then Son and Werder get 2 goals in stoppage time to kind of really put the nail in the coffin for Villa. And this was away for Tottenham.
Yeah, no, in a massive game. We've touched on it on our betting show that we thought this game was going to be amazing. Obviously, Villa didn't live up maybe to their end of the bargain, but Tottenham this season have just been awesome under Ange. Really fun to watch. James Maddison obviously is one of the transfers of the summer, and it's just, even without Harry Kane, and there was all that speculation before the year, when you have Heung-min Son and one of the best finishers in the world in my mind, things are still going to go your way at times, and you have somebody setting up like Maddison. So I don't know. It's been really impressive for Tottenham. As a Chelsea fan, I do hope that, we can stop them from their Champions League hopes. But yeah, it's been really impressive to watch.
Yeah, I'm really a big fan of Ange, and I think that with good backing, Spurs can go on and do really good things. And they're going to smell blood in the water, especially with a Liverpool who will be changing coaches in the summer. You don't know how long Pep Guardiola is going to be at City for. And then, Arsenal are looking great, but the other teams around them there are some question marks here, with Manchester United probably going to let go of Ten Hag, and we'll get to that game. United, get a scrappy win against Everton. They were probably, definitely favorites to win this game. Two penalties. But, at the end of the day, United were going to really always win this game, even with the injuries that they do have, and they just keep rolling.
They do keep rolling. I don't know if this win necessarily is going to instill a lot of confidence in United fans, and I don't think it should. You score 2 penalties against Everton, and that's all it takes, I guess. And you'd hope as a United fan that at Old Trafford they'd be able to really put it on them. And I know there's no Hoyland, so it's tough to really know exactly what you're going to get attacking wise from United right now. Um, yeah, but we talk about is if European soccer is possible for them next season. I don't really know still. I think the question's still out there for them. Um, Hoyland, he needs to come back as soon as possible, I think, for them, just with how he's been playing recently. Garnacho created the 2 penalties today. Obviously, has had a great season, but it's hard for me still to get completely behind this United team. And today was just another reason why I'm just not sure.
Yeah, they're 6 points behind Spurs, and Spurs, like I said, do have a game in hand. So I guess would that be Europa Conference League that they'd get?
Yeah.
I guess. So, I mean, it's European football is European football, and any good experience is good experience. But I don't see them catching up to Villa or Spurs unless something really bad happened to one of those teams, which I think they have the better coaches. I think they have the better squads. And then compounding with United's injuries, I don't see it.
I mean, I think if one of those two were going to fall, I think it would more likely be Villa. But like you said, with the coaching of Emery this year, the talent they have, Watkins having the year he has. I mean, I don't see a path where United can possibly get into the Europa League or the Champions League.
Yeah, I wanted to get to the relegation scrap here too in the Premier League. Luton get a a late dramatic point against Crystal Palace in like the 96th minute or something like that to grab a point. Don't look now, but they are 3 points from Forest, 4 points from Everton, and 5 points from Brentford. There's still FFP charges to come for Forest and Everton. Luton could do this.
Yeah.
Luton definitely could do this, and I think I'm buying stock in Luton over both of those teams currently.
I love watching Luton play.
I'm
gonna be honest.
I
mean, we've talked about this, like just fun games. And I know that before this one they had dropped 4 in a row, but they just are so scrappy. It's like
they're in every game that they lose.
Yeah,
too. They rarely get blown out.
And even this game against Palace, Palace was getting all of the chances, and then just a late header, and they get out of there with a 1-1 draw. And yeah, I love watching this team. Ross Barkley has had an amazing year.
Renaissance.
Chelsea legend. And I don't know. It's been and he has a chance of actually getting into the Euro team, which is insane. And I don't think I would ever say that.
Good shout.
But yeah, I love watching Luton. I hope they find their way out of the relegation, out of the bottom. So yeah.
That's awesome. Let's go take our talents to the Bundesliga now. Bayer Leverkusen, they get it done again, still unbeaten. The wild story that is Xabi Alonso and Bayer Leverkusen continues, but they were definitely helped for the second week in a row by a red card, and this one was really early. This, first yellow, pulled back Verts, and then he catches Patrick Schick. I can't remember who the center back was, but I think it was like a 25-minute red card or 2 double yellows. And after that, it was smooth sailing for Leverkusen as they won 2-0. They got one before half. And once they got that first one, they were never going to lose this game.
What are your Grimaldo is having? I mean, I'm looking at his stats right now. 9 goals, 10 assists as a wingback. He's been one of the most not normal at all. One of the best players under Alonso this season, and a big reason why Leverkusen hasn't lost. So the red card, of course, helped them on today, and they just continue their dominance. It's been pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah, and they plug and play. That's the most impressive thing. I mean, Boniface at first was really carrying that team with Verts, and then he gets injured. Frimpong's out right now, and Nathan Tell plug and play. You had Palacios out. I think he actually made his comeback today. So they had Andrick and Xhaka in the middle. Center backs went to AFCON, didn't matter. I mean, Xabi Alonso, it's the system. It's not only the players, but when you got Grimaldo on a free from Benfica, and he's been probably, I think it's fair to say he's the best left back in the world at this very moment. I feel like that's not a hot take though.
Definitely could make that argument.
Definitely, and he should be probably the starter for Spain. Come
100%.
Euros. He didn't even get a peek in before the season in the Spain lineup, but he will find himself on that roster and probably starting. But they do keep pace with the 10-point gap with Bayern, which is very impressive. But I mentioned Bayern. Let's get to them. They demolish, or a word that our high school coach used to use, Ed Pinion, demoralized. Demoralized.
Good shout.
Minds.
Good shout.
8-1, I believe.
8-1.
Harry Kane hat-trick, top goal scorer in the Bundesliga. Harry Kane just doing Harry Kane things. Serge Gnabry got back on the score sheet after a long injury absence. That was a really nice goal he had too.
That was a nice goal.
And after that UCL win, against Lazio, I think that the confidence in that camp is back to where it needed to be, and they could go on a little run here. I still think 10 points is too far gone for them, but they are in the Champions League, so they still could, shock the world there. But when it's all said and done, how far do you think this gap is going to be between Bayern and Bayern?
Man, I do think it's going to be too little, too late for them.
But like how it's 10 right now. Do you think they get closer?
It's 10 right now. I could see them getting a little closer. I don't know exactly what their schedule is coming up, so I can't necessarily say. But I don't see Leverkusen necessarily stopping anytime soon. It's stupid what Harry Kane is doing in the Bundesliga this year. He has 30 goals in 25 games. I mean, what are we doing? Fourth hat trick of the year. So I don't know.
Fourth hat trick.
It might be
wow.
It's crazy. So yeah, I don't know. Mainz is a bad team, first of all. So I don't want to.
Yeah, let's not overreact here. Let's not overreact.
Yeah, it's not like they're taking down, Hoffenheim 8-1 or Dortmund 8-1. But yeah, I think that they are starting to get confident. That comeback against Lazio in the Champions League definitely boosted that. My guess right now is they'll lose the league by 7.
I asked that because my co-host, Matt Gesslin, who I forgot to mention, he had a scheduling conflict, so he could not make it on the show today. Forgot to mention that I saw him Saturday, and he, just walked over to me and just kind of not whispered in my ear, but just nudged me and was like, "Hey, I have a hot take for you." And I'm like, "All right, let's hear it." He's like, "I think Bayern I think it's going to get to 4 to 3 points."
Really?
And I was like, "That's spicy." I disagree strongly, but
hey,
I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen teams crumble at the end before, and Bayern if they can continue and put this performance into the next performance, which that's what they've struggled to do. This gap could close, and once the gap starts to close, that's when it gets the mental, and that's when shit can get wicked fast.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to be coming down the stretch, and Leverkusen's never been in this position. Especially the players on the field have never been in this position. And, once that gap does start to close, it will get mental. And it's just a matter of if they're able to get the wins. And I think that with Bayern's new confidence, I mean, every game they go out there right now, they should have the mentality that they're going to kill every team they play. And it's just a matter of if Leverkusen can match that.
Absolutely. And let's get to the rest of the Bundesliga. Stuttgart, Leipzig, and Dortmund all win to keep pace. I have a take that it is very unlikely that Dortmund and Leipzig catch up to Stuttgart. They are Dortmund 6 points behind, Leipzig 7 points behind. Would you agree with that take?
Yeah, I would. I think Stuttgart is head over heels better than both those teams. And I think that attacking wise, Undov and Guirassy,
fire.
It's hard for me to see. Yeah, it's hard for me to see Stuttgart dropping, I would say. I just think I legitimately do think that the table is right in terms of, them as the third best team in the Bundesliga.
Now I do see that gap maybe shrinking a little
Sure.
bit, but not a considerable amount. I'd say maybe 3-point gap at one point. But I mean, it could get if Grossi and Undav went down or one or the other, then it could get interesting later on. But I at least wanted to poise that as a question. Leipzig had a ho hum 2-0 win against Darmstadt, which that was always going to happen. Could have been more. We talked about on the betting show. Dortmund had we're up 2-0, then got a red card. So it got kind of interesting late against Werder Bremen. And then Stuttgart had I think it was a 2-0 win against, can you remind me who they played? Do you know? I can't remember.
They
I'm
played.
blanking. They played Union Berlin, who also had a red card, which made their lives a little bit easier. But I like that discourse. It was fun to talk about. Bundesliga has been a lot of fun this year, especially with this Bayer Leverkusen story. So hopefully, the good vibes continue.
I will say that I guess in my mind when I said that, I was thinking primarily of Dortmund when comparing them to Stuttgart, because I think Stuttgart is much better than Dortmund. Leipzig, I think that it's not as much of a difference. I think Leipzig, when they're on, are a very good team. I mean, when Simmons is going, or when Xavi's going, and when Openda's going, and they have everybody moving forward, they're a dangerous team. And I mean, they showed that with Madrid, even in the Champions League. So I would say Leipzig is closer than Dortmund, but I still think that Stuttgart are the third best team.
Yeah, me and Matt have talked at a lot about Marco Rosa and Leipzig, and Dortmund. At the end of the day, Dortmund and Leipzig are just so inconsistent, and that's going to be their downfall. But I'm not going to predict here who's going to get that Champions League spot. But it seems like you're buying more stock in Leipzig than Dortmund at this rate. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just
Going to get another view here.
I believe in them a little more. I think, and they've shown it in big competitions that they can handle other teams. So,
one is in the competition, one's not. Still,
right.
Dortmund could still, beat PSV this weekend, which we'll get to as well. But, I feel like if Dortmund continued in the Champions League, since Leipzig are done and they can kind of focus on the Bundesliga, just the Bundesliga, then that could play a factor. But let's wait and see as Dortmund do play later this week.
I do think part of that is just unlucky that Leipzig drew Madrid. I mean,
yeah.
That's just a brutal.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
When they have the the live draw show and they got their boys sitting in there and oh yeah, you're gonna play Real Madrid.
The heads go down. The heads go down.
Damn it. I think it's just unlucky. I think there, and Dortmund obviously play PSV, and that's gonna be a great game this week. But
it will be.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate for Leipzig because I think that they're a decent team and they have to draw an absolute giant in Real Madrid.
Absolutely. Let's get to La Liga here. Real Madrid walk in the park here, 4-0 win against former manager Rafa Benitez. Does not help him out as they are in a relegation scrap with Celta Vigo. Yeah, there's not really much to cover because I didn't really have anything from this game other than 2 own goals is definitely impressive. When it comes to the score sheet, but 4-0.
Did you see Brahim Diaz is committing to Morocco?
I did. That is a big storyline. He is a Spaniard through and through as well. So, and he's a very talented young player. So I think that Spain, they have a plethora of talent, young talent too. But I think that could, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and Morocco welcoming in with open arms. I'm sure probably will give him the number 10 jersey, but we might see Morocco snatch a couple more players after their big World Cup run that they had not so long ago. And Morocco is going to be a legitimate AFCON team for the future as they keep, snapping up these dual nats, kind of like the US did with some of these players.
I was gonna compare it directly to the U.S. I mean, the U.S. with their quote unquote golden generation, it's right now, and that's why that's part of the reason that they're. I mean, Sergino Dest was going to battle for time with the Netherlands, but a big reason that he did choose the U.S. is because of all the young players that they have and the talent that's there. So yeah, I think Morocco can definitely build, and in 2026 will be
For
a big
real.
factor.
For real. No doubt. Now, Barcelona get a scrappy win to in the good times of Mallorca, who have had just a great, probably one of their best runs they've had in a while here. But don't look now, like I said before, but Barcelona are 1 point behind Girona now, and they are 8 points behind Real Madrid, and they still have to play Real Madrid. Now, me and Matt were talking about this, and I'm buying more stock in Real Madrid at this time than Barcelona, just because of the injuries that have happened in the last week with De Jong, Pedri out, Rafinha exited the game early in this one. So I don't think they can catch them, but I think they can definitely cement that second place over Girona for sure. And Lamine Yamal, again with another goal. He's 17 years old. He is.
He's nasty.
I just hope that they don't run him into the ground like they did Gavi and
Ansu Fati.
Pedri and Ansu Fati. They just rely on him so heavily at such a young age, so many games for young legs. That scares me a bit, but I think Lamine Yamal is for that 17-year-old or down. He's next up, and he could be the best player in the world and win Ballon d'Ors, within the next 10 years, which is crazy to say. He has such a large window at this time. I mean, he's he's going to be 27 in 2034.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. But I did at least want to mention that, and they now have cemented a 6-point gap between Atletico Madrid. So it seems like that top three has kind of established itself. Now, Matt always says he thinks Girona will kind of end up falling down the table even more, but they get back to winning ways with a win against Osasuna. Savio, continues to carry that team as Dubovnik and Sagankov haven't been playing as good as of late. What do you think about this Girona team?
I like him. I think that Savio, obviously, he makes that team go. He is so fun to watch, and Man City are obviously going to enjoy having him.
Him and Doku on either side. And
just another weapon for Pep. Yeah, he's electrifying on the wing. And I think that I tend to agree with Matt that I think that they will fall at some point. I mean, obviously, they held a lead for the majority of the season, and then Madrid, came on. I do think that I think that they'll finish top three. I think Barcelona will pass them. But yeah, I mean, I think they are fun to watch, and Savio is definitely running it over there.
Yeah. Now the question with Girona falling is who's going to step up now, and Atletico Madrid end up losing to Cadiz to continue their terrible form. And, I asked this a month ago, who's going to step up if Girona falter? And I don't think it's going to be Atletico Madrid. Now, they still are in the Champions League, down 1-0 to Inter, and we'll get to that, like I said, with the Champions League predictions here. But I think Atletico are in a little bit of a predicament here because they gave Simeone a long-term contract, like we mentioned in the last show. But it's like one of those things where you've had a manager for so long, he's a club legend. But is there a ceiling with him? And he's gone on and done crazy things, but he relies very heavily on Griezmann, on individual brilliance as well. And could you go get a better manager, right now if you wanted to? But just the financial cost of getting rid of Simeone if you decide to part ways would just be pretty detrimental to their finances at this rate. Where do you stand on Simeone and Atletico Madrid?
I like Simeone. I've always kind of I love the fire that he coaches with. I love his antics. Like, I think they're maybe a little over the top sometimes, but and I think he's hilarious at times. But
Was it his
I,
name is like
I
what, El Cholo or whatever? It's the
yeah,
best.
something so geeky. But yeah, I this Atletico Madrid team, I don't enjoy watching them play. Like Memphis Depay, I'm so tired of Memphis Depay, and maybe it's still just reminiscing on the World Cup and the things he did to the U.S. But he doesn't do it for me. And I know that they have some big injuries. Obviously, Griezmann is out, and he's the main man there, and Jose Jimenez is a solid center back, and he's out also. But it's so they've always just been so slow and always have those cagey matches and lose stupid games on the road. And
They're
I don't know.
great
I
at
don't believe.
home, horrible on the
Always
road.
been great. Always been great at home. That atmosphere there is unbelievable all the time. It's Simeone always riling them up. But it's just so hard for me to get behind Atletico Madrid.
And on the other side, we have Athletic Club, who are only 2 points behind them now. They won this weekend against Las Palmas.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be able to leapfrog Atletico Madrid here and finish in that fourth spot. And I mean, let's see how far they got 9 points between them and Girona, so I don't think they'll be able to catch up with Girona. But never say never. But I do think I could see Athletic Club, excuse me, finish in that fourth spot to get that last Champions League spot.
Completely different from Atletico Madrid. I love watching Athletic Club play. Also,
The Basque Club.
they got the Williams boys on the wings, just buzzing. Yeah, that's I'm a big fan of that. I enjoy betting on Athletic Club. Also, I just think they play a really good style of soccer, and
Ernesto
like you
Valverde is a
said,
great coach too.
good coach as well. So I agree with you. I think that they will jump Madrid. I think they have a lot of momentum for them this year in my mind, and it's going to go in the opposite way for Atletico in my mind. Big game for Atletico this week, though.
Yeah, huge game, and we'll definitely touch on that soon. But Serie A, Inter Milan win yet again, but this time they won against one of the most hot teams in Serie A, Thiago Motta's Bologna. And we talked about this on the betting show. This was probably one of the toughest Inter Milan games that they've had in a while. But Matt said on the prediction show, Inter are going to rest guys, but it's not going to matter. They're going to win anyways, and they certainly did that. I was thinking, is this one of the best Inter teams of all time? And then I said, wait, is this one of the best Serie A teams of all time? And I went and looked, and Antonio Conte, one season at Juventus, racked up 102 points, which is a lot. I forgot about his dominance in there. They are, they're mathematically, it's impossible to catch up to Conte's team, but they're on 75 points with 28 played. They play 36 games, so 8 times 3 is 24 points. So they could definitely finish high 90s, and they could definitely be like a top 5 Serie A team of all time, especially getting a Champions League final last year. And I think they're a very I don't even know if you could call them a sleeper team in the UCL, but I could see them going very, very deep in the Champions League this year if they are able to get past Atletico Madrid.
Completely agree with you. It's just from top to bottom, and how Inzaghi's been playing his team this year. They're so good defensively. I mean, they've allowed 13 goals total in the Serie A this year. I mean, that is crazy.
Their goal differential is 57. That's insane.
I mean, that is nuts. I mean, it helps also to win games when Marcus Thuram's had the year that he's had, and he's suddenly become a huge name, I think, in my mind, in the France team. But yeah, with Bastoni and Acerbi back there, and Jan Sommer, who's come in for Onana, he's shut the door. I don't know. I'm so impressed with them, and I agree with you that they can't catch Conte, but with this style that they're playing this year, I do think that you can argue it's one of the best teams that we've seen in Serie A.
Now, this is two 23, 24-year-olds with their takes on Inter. It's hard to say that, because we haven't been around that long, but it's hard. I feel like we're making a solid argument. You mentioned goal differential, and you mentioned a couple players, but you didn't mention Lautaro Martinez, who's the top scorer in Serie A this year. They've scored.
He didn't even play this week.
Yeah, they're the highest goal scoring team with 70 and have conceded 13, 24 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. That is completely absurd. But we've kind of run this Inter storyline to the ground here because they just keep winning and there's not much else we can say. But when it comes to the rest of Serie A, AC Milan, they slide by Empoli just barely. Pulisic continues just to have his renaissance in the Milan City. He gets the goal here, and now they have, after not a really good start to the season, now they are in second with 1 point ahead of Juventus, and I think they're going to lock down that second place without a doubt.
I think so too. I've been impressed with Milan, especially after their start, like you mentioned. I always enjoy watching them just because it's just a bunch of old Chelsea players who enjoy just having a new lease on life in Italy, and they're just enjoying playing with Pioli, and Pulisic's having an awesome year. Loftus-Cheek
all starters, all Chelsea
all
stars, Mori, Ruben,
all starters,
Pulisic, Giroud.
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed watching Milan this year. Pulisic, like I said, having a great year. Loftus-Cheek having a great year. Tomori has been very solid at the back. And Giroud, you put him in there, he's going to score a goal. It's just what he does. Even if he can't move very fast, he just finds a way. Just like finds a way.
Wine.
And he's still, I mean, at the Euros this summer, he very well still could be the starter for that France team. I mean, like I said, you can make the case for Thuram, and obviously
I'm going Thuram for sure. But
I would say Thuram at this point. Thuram is the better player, but Giroud still will have a say, which is impressive for him at 36. So, like you said, Milan's been really impressive, and I think they will hold down that second spot. Obviously, nobody's catching Inter, so. But yeah, just sneak out with a 1-0 win today.
Didier Deschamps, he's loyal to his players, so I could see Giroud in the lineup with that same, style that they usually play. But if not, you're throwing Giroud on when you need a goal late in a match, and he'll probably get you that. Other kind of results that happened are Juve play Atalanta, and they end up drawing. And I just have to take that Koop Miners is one of the best players in Serie A, and Atalanta, you can kiss him goodbye in the summer because he is going to go to a big team and command a very large transfer fee. You might be able to use that money to go and buy De Catalare Belloni from AC Milan here. But I kind of backed Atalanta in this match to get it done against Juve, but Juve were able to tie it up and then go ahead, and then Atalanta ended up leveling it. But they're only 1 point behind Roma, Atalanta, that is. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to catch Roma in that 5th place spot, especially we'll get to, Roma in a little bit, but De Rossi's men are hot. So are you bullish on this Atalanta team to go and push for that 5th spot, or do you think they're good where they are at 6th?
Yeah. I mean, I've said it on our betting show that, I like this Atalanta team. And Koop Miners, like you said, I mean, that first goal he scored was an absolute rocket. But they're dangerous going forward. Scamacca also can put the ball in the back of the net. I think they did take advantage of Juventus, who were coming off a bit of an emotional match against Napoli. And I think Atalanta were able to strike there. Obviously, they had the 1-0 lead, then they gave it up, then they end up drawing. But I do like this Atalanta team, and they are going to challenge Roma for that 5 spot, even with how Roma have played since the coaching change.
And speaking of Roma, they play an absolute Absolute classic against Fiorentina. What a wild game this was. Fiorentina go up, and then Husam Aouar levels it, and then I flip on the match, and then immediately Fiorentina score off of really bad, defending from Roma here, and then Fiorentina get a penalty. Baraghi misses it, or I guess you could say the Roma keeper saves it, and then the last kick of the game, Pellegrini dumps it in. One center back in Deca heads it on to Mark or to Llorente, and Llorente just slots it upper 90 with a beautiful volley to save them a point to keep them right above Atalanta in that fifth spot. De Rossi has only lost, I think, one in his first 10 matches here, and he continues to impress.
Yeah, Roma, another solid game for them. I know Fiorentina maybe. I mean, they've been pesky, I like to say, this
Very
year
pesky.
in Serie A, and it wasn't an easy game, and it could have very easily gotten away from them with the penalty, and that save changed everything for them. And that finish from Llorente, like you mentioned, was bar down, just casually to tie the game at the death. I do like this Roma team. I do think Atalanta are going to challenge them for the 5, and we'll see what happens there. But De Rossi has the boys playing real well.
Now, on the other end, they're only 3 points for Bologna. Do you think they can catch ground on Bologna? Atalanta's 4 points. Do we see anyone catching Bologna in this team? Because they're playing great football right now. I wouldn't, I think that a 1-0 loss to Inter is not something to be upset about. Do you think that Bologna stick their ground here in 4th? Or do you think Roma or Atalanta kind of are able to catch ground on them?
Well, Roma and Bologna still play each other this year. So that'll obviously be a huge match at Roma.
6-pointer.
6-pointer. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tight. I think that race is gonna come down to the final weekend. But if De Rossi has Roma playing the same way throughout the rest of the year, I definitely think Roma can catch Bologna.
Yeah, they still have that second leg against Brain, but they're absolutely crushed them in the Europa League. So not really worried about that tie. But glad we got to talk about this real quick. Just rest of the world. Benfica and Lisbon won, so that race is heating up. Currently 1 point. Lisbon is 1 point ahead of Benfica, but with a game in hand, so we'll see what Lisbon do. And in Ligue 1, PSG tie Reims, and Monaco are able to beat Strasbourg to go, I think, 1 or 2 points behind Brest, which is one of the best stories of the season. So Ligue 1, the top 6 is very, very tight. We'll cover it on another episode here, but Ligue 1 is turning into a really good watch. On who?
Don't sleep on Marseille either the rest of the year.
Marseille is coming back from the death with their new coach. Rennes is getting hot. Lille looks good. That Ligue 1 is, top 8, I'd say, is pretty intriguing, and we'll keep an eye on that. Now, before we get to our predictions, a little housekeeping. If you're watching this is actually going to be on YouTube. We're doing, the full-time roundup. Occasionally, we'll throw a video here on YouTube. So, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. You can follow Harrison at @hclark_2. Got it right. And also we dropped a betting pod earlier today on Sunday. So go ahead and check that video out. This will probably on YouTube will be out tonight, but the Spotify version or podcast version, wherever you get it, will be out probably tomorrow morning on this Monday. Go ahead and download that video, give us a 5-star review, and then of course follow our account on X at Full-Time Roundup. Interact with us. We'd love to hear you. I also will be making our Team of the Week here tomorrow and be posting it on Monday night, Tuesday. So go check that out. Now, one of the most favorite things we do on the show is predictions for whatever matches are coming up. And we have the Champions League, Europa League, and Europa Conference League, as well as a little bit of Premier League I threw in there. So let's go ahead and start. Rapid fire, you predict the score and who wins. So let's go ahead and start with Atletico Madrid versus Inter at Atletico.
1-0 Inter.
I'm going to go 1-1 after full time, ending with 2-1 Inter Milan here. Next,
Well,
Arsenal.
it would only. Oh, you're saying aggregate.
Oh shoot, you're right. Yeah, that would be 2-1 aggregate. Excuse me, but 1-1 at the Wanda or whatever it's called now. Arsenal versus Porto, down 1-0, but they will be at home. Based off your betting, I think I know what you're gonna say, but let's go ahead and hear it.
3-0 Arsenal.
3-0 Arsenal. 3-0 Arsenal. I'm gonna go 2-0 Arsenal. I think it's gonna be a lot harder game than people are giving Porto credit for. They're in really good form right now. So I'm going to, 2-0 Arsenal. Barcelona versus Napoli at Barcelona, but they're pretty banged up. Napoli wouldn't say they're in great form, but they seem to get up for these kind of matches.
I like 1-0 Napoli.
1-0 Napoli, which would get them through.
Put them through.
I'm going 1-1, and this will be decided by penalties. Dramatic.
I hope so. I feel like we haven't had that in a minute.
Yeah, I know. I'd love it. Dortmund PSV at the Yellow Wall.
2-1 Dortmund.
I'd have to agree. I'm going to go with you here on 2-1. 2-1 for sure. Chelsea, Newcastle. Line fixture of the century.
Can't wait. 2-1 Chelsea.
I'm going 2-2 Chelsea, Newcastle. They share a point here. Rangers, Benfica at Glasgow.
2-0 Benfica.
I'm going to say 2-1 Benfica. I think Benfica have enough to get through here. Rangers are just not that good enough to beat Benfica. Atalanta Sporting 1-1 aggregate currently at Atalanta.
Oh man.
Fun game.
Fun game. Give me Atalanta 2-1.
Atalanta 2-1. I'm going 2-2 penalties.
Oh boy.
Sporting win. Victor Gyökeres with the game-winning penalty. I'm calling my shot.
So. That's my guy.
I'm calling my shot. That's my twin. And last but not least, Villa versus Ajax at Villa.
God, I don't want to see this game again. Let's go with brutal. Maybe it'll be a reverse of last time. Let's go 2-2 and Villa wins and pens.
Okay. I'm going 3-1 Villa. I'm going bold here. I'm calling my shot. Villa get it done here. They need a good result. Emery's pissed. The boys are pissed. Ajax are just not that good. I think they get it done here off a bad loss, 3-1 Villa. But you have heard it here, folks. Thank you, if you're still listening, for tuning into the show. Harrison, can't thank you enough for hopping on the pod today. I'm glad you made your debut. I thought you put in a man of the match performance today, and
oh boy,
y'all have a great day, and we'll hit you back on Thursday here.